Not your microphone, but the speaker. Right, just so that we should be able to, if anyone wants to chime in, they should be able to. Hello. No, welcome aboard.
I just sat down.
Good morning.
Yeah, we all just started.
Catherine and I met Stephanie yet. Have you?
Lauren did yesterday.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you as well. Thank you.
We'll let you.
We haven't even started yet.
Yeah, so we're good, and we got, I think, Bill coming in too. So.
I left earlier than yesterday and I keep hitting this morning traffic.
There's
Oh.
no good way to get anywhere right now.
I've been taking Baldwin all the way to my house, and so I'm like, wait, I gotta wash my car more than usual.
Oh,
I've had about 6 cars northbound on 75 pulled over this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, they were out this morning too. Yeah.
oh, wow.
Oh, the police?
Yeah.
And northbound traffic is just, no, southbound traffic.
Oh yeah. All right. So what we're gonna do, this is just gonna be kind of like a little things here and there. It's not gonna be like this. This isn't a giant meaty class, but I think that there'll be a lot of things that'll help you just save some time. And if there's just chime in with questions like, how do I do this? Hey, I was thinking about this because this is just the stuff I thought of. And so yay for that. The first one is, I know that we talked a lot about stats, and there's 2 ways to do it that I think are good. And one of them is better than the other. And so the first one is using showing time market stats. Oh, you know what? This is going to give me new windows. I've got to cast my window instead. Hang on.
You can get to that 2 ways too, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
So the first way to get to showing time market stats is just under the stats. And then you can also get to it down here or just right here too. And so it can be kind of right on your dashboard. You can also get to it from your showing time app on your phone. If you wanted to, like, hey, you know that you've got one of these super analytical clients that might want to know the days on market in a certain area. On your showing time menu, you can go to market stats, and then it'll take you to this.
Oh, wow.
That being said, some of these numbers I don't think are correct. And when it comes to, like, if you're doing, and I think it's the Clarkston Independence thing. Like if you put in Clarkston, I think some other stuff gets pulled in. So I tend to use like school district because that is a little bit more accurate. But it's nice. Then you can real quick pop and say, hey, I know that we've got, on average, this is a price per square foot for this area or whatever. I use that on my phone all the time. So I really like that. And we'll just go to it and kind of show you guys. You can customize those. Mhm. Yep. So the price range is here. So we're going to do Clarkston schools. See, this is where you get squirrely because Clarkston schools, Clarkston schools, Independence. Yep. So that's where, so I just pull the whole district. And then what you can do is you can customize the price point. So we did this for when we were talking to Carrie's seller, because hers was, we wanted to do like 550 and more. So you can customize any of your, so if you just want to do 200 to 300,000, that's what I found myself doing a lot, because really these are not great chunks. We all know 250 and 425 are not the same market.
No.
So, but it will give you some sales prices. And the thing that I like to use this for is if I can not only show, like let's say we're sitting down with a seller, not only the year over year, but also you can figure out the month over month, which is really nice. And the other thing that I liked is you can kind of see when people are saying, oh yeah, is there going to be a crash or this and this? This is 10 years. We've been having we're not having these sharp spikes that people necessarily think that we are. So I kind of put some things in context, but you can figure this out as much as you want. I mean, hey, I just want to look at FHA sales.
The 14% isn't.
It's year over year.
So that the right column will always be.
Always year over year.
Okay. Always
So that's saying year over year, it's up. Is it 14 point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can also though you can do a 6 month, you can do a monthly, you can do, so you can really do whatever you want. And if you like bar graphs, you can do bar graphs instead. I tend to like the lines. The thing that I actually really like, I really tend to like percentage of list price. They will only do, this is not original list, it's of final list, but I'll show you a way to find original list, but there's a ton of different things.
So, but original list, I mean, if you can find the original list, what I would show people is original list versus, of the time when it was. So I would show, this was back before we had these easily. I would do the math on the, like the MLS sheet and show them, that they were 6%, away from sales price on the original one, and 3%, almost always is 2 to 3% from the list at the time it sold.
Mhm.
And that's how I could show them the houses that were priced within 3% would sell,
Yeah.
for a higher
Ah,
price. Because
Interesting.
but now you can do this. I just use it on my comps because sometimes when you show the work, I mean, back in the, gosh, I was probably in my 30s, like Peter, we got this new system and it looked like an appraisal and we thought it was like, sliced bread. And our owner of the company sat down and it's like, that's fine, give them this. But if you don't show them your work, this doesn't have as much value.
Yeah.
And so he said, show them the messy math and how you came to it.
And I think as the market's off, I have told everyone, I just had a conversation yesterday. I don't think we're headed for a market crash. I don't think that we are, and you can show them. I think that we're heading for a little bit of softening, and all that is going to be is buyers are going to be a little bit pickier about what they're offering. And so that's where those ratios of original list to sale price versus final list, because this is a misleading number. Oh, well, houses are selling at 100.1% of their list price. Well, when you see that there's been 17 price decreases with 15 new listings in Clarkston schools in the last 7 days, it's like,
That's
well, no.
deceiving.
it is. It's if you are priced right, it's selling there. The other one that I really like to use on my listing presentation, and this is like if you have a situation like you do, of here's how many showings on average you need in a specific area to. So what I would tell them is, okay, so here's our math, right? We want to sell in 30 days or less. We know that we need 18, which this is actually really high. So this means shows that there's more buyers that are out and about. We know that we need 18 showings to sell. So if we are getting, what's the math on that? About 5 showings a week.
It's really high.
It does seem high, and it's up 30% from last year. It's because there's so many buyers out and about that are
This is saying that on average, 18 showings
per listing.
will lead you to a pending.
But you think
So it
about
doesn't-
how many showings in 2 days.
Well, but I'm also thinking then 18, and it doesn't tell you that then actually there were 6 offers.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, well, the other,
Yeah.
hello, come on, have a seat.
That kind of makes
So,
sense.
but the other thing though, that
That's
is,
a good point. Put it up over a weekend, you got 20 showings and it's pending by Monday.
I
well,
will tell you though, I showed these stats and this a couple of years ago when things weren't all out crazy. And my seller he wasn't an engineer by, degree, but that's how he
Mhm.
thought. And so at first I thought it would sell fairly quick. And he said, well, Kim, according to the stats that you showed me, we're going to have it's usually 14 showings before. It's like, oh my God. But it completely
Hello.
calmed
How you
him
doing?
down because he
Yeah.
was this person that looked at the
But I,
stats.
it's funny, you're gonna go like, that seems high.
Yeah.
But then when you think about it over a weekend,
Right.
8 showings on a Saturday,
Right.
it's really not, and then again, that was Sunday, there you go, you're at your 16, like that's.
Right.
so here's the other one and so like I said, I did the math and I said, okay, well, if we want to sell in 30 days,
Don't
we
worry,
know that
you're in the
if we're
middle
5
of it
showings on
crazy,
average.
so-
Yeah, I know. I told you yesterday this would be a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
Here's the other interesting one though, is when you go to shows per listing, this is showing you that there's a differentiation between houses that are selling and houses that aren't necessarily. So if we have these are listings, this is all listings, including what's gone pending and what's just stayed active. So if you got to figure we have 18 on average, the houses that are going pending and only 12 on the ones that are active, you got to really figure that the houses that aren't selling are only getting 5 or 6.
Right, you gotta
Right.
get some bodies in there.
So-
Get traffic through.
Right. And so I always use this to show your seller, okay, like for your seller, hey, we've been on the market 6 days. We've had 10 showings.
Maybe.
Okay. So we know that if we wanted to sell in
Still
X
8
point,
short. I think we got to double.
well, right, but it shows you that in marketable time, so in this area, marketable time is 33 days on average. We know that something's been missed because we know that we're double market average. And so it's kind of that tool of Lauren isn't telling you you're wrong.
Right.
The numbers are telling you
Right.
you're wrong.
Well, and this is helpful because this guy we talked about yesterday is an engineer. And so I can talk till I'm blue in the face, but this
Mhm.
is like, I'm so glad we're doing this because
Yeah.
I didn't even know this existed.
And when we talk about our 3 pillars, right? When you show them, hey, by the way, here's all that we did on Zillow. Here's all the marketing we did. That takes care of pillar one. Pillar two, presentation, that's gonna be a fight. But then we look at pillar three and we say, okay, if we want to work on pillar two and we don't want to take money out of pillar three, then we say, okay, to stay at the price we're at, we need to do this. If not, this is what it's shown you, that we just then the only other solution here. If we're not going to touch presentation, our promotion's good. Now the only thing left is price. There's just nothing left that
Yeah,
is
you're
like,
not gonna put in new carpet and update the cabinets, then there's only one.
and on a listing like that, you're not going to change it. Doesn't have a first floor master. You're not going to have to put a deck on. So those things are and that's, I'm not singling you out, but
No,
that just
this
happened to be
is
the one that
helpful
we're
because-
discussing. And then so we know that that's the only thing left. It's and that's a nice thing is if he's like
No.
considering trying to go a different direction, you say, okay, well, so what is another agent going to do differently? Now that we've already showed you we have the best promotional game in the industry, which we do, just even from if you did nothing, which you do, Cole Banker, Weirmania has one of the best promotional games in the industry, even if you did nothing. Presentation, he's not going to change it for another agent. So we know that the only thing left is price. So sometimes if you're kind of on that precipice of somebody's on the fence, that can be a nice conversation to have of, hey, I'm not telling you you're wrong. Just let's look at the numbers.
I'm not telling you you're wrong, but you're wrong.
But you're wrong.
But you have to, and that goes back to what I learned years and years ago from a top agent. Never say, I think your house is worth. It's like the market is telling us, the market is
The
telling
market
us.
is on, yeah.
It's always the market because it takes it outside of your opinion and.
Yeah, so let me go get another opinion.
Well,
Yeah.
Yes.
so let's talk about that conversation too. Of like we say, matters who says it, right? So hi Diane. So if we're having a conversation and we're not going in for a price reduction, right? We're going in for an analysis of how the house is doing, right? So if all we're doing is going in for analysis of how we're performing, hey Bill, and we say, okay, we've seen this, this, and this. Here's the Zillow numbers. We know how your house is presenting. What do you think then is the only thing that we can do to now remedy this? And chances are they'll say, oh, well, looks like we might need to adjust price. Now you haven't suggested the price reduction.
It's their idea.
It's their idea. And sometimes with somebody like that, it's, how do I say it nicely? One of those types of people, sometimes it really matters that it was their idea.
Yes.
And sometimes we got to remove, we know we're the expert, but sometimes let's remove like our ego of we need to be right and let's let them, figure out that they're not right. So another way to do stats is, and can be useful in certain ways, but not others. We're not going to get through this whole list. This is going to be a two-parter. Some of this stuff might be not that exciting though.
Are we number one yet?
Well, no, if I can help, even if one of these things helps you out in listing practice. So here you can do a little bit more customized. So there's some presets, but if you really only want, let's say you only want a neighborhood and you're like, I only want Clarkson Pines. And so, you know what, Lauren, we're just going to use that because
What did you click
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm back and forth.
on our toolbar, stats, residential.
Oh,
And what is it, 612, Lauren?
The address is 6612.
I'm just going to use this as, you're just going to be the guinea pig, Jay. Sorry.
Please help me.
Is it Pine,
View,
Pineview? One word?
2 words.
Lauren, I'm like, I don't know that I'm qualified to really help with this because I'm like, I have no idea about some of these neighborhoods.
But that's why it's helpful because you don't know.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can come in as a third, be like, this doesn't look, I would never pay that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. So let's say we do just want to do a neighborhood and we're only going to do, so we can obviously add it, whatever fields we want. So we're going to add, for giggles, we should have, is it sale type? Where'd we go? Okay, I'm not gonna waste some time looking for it, but we could say, hey, we're gonna grab sale type condos. And so we're only gonna do condos within this area. And we're gonna look at, let's just say that we want original list price versus sold price. We can generate that. We can also customize it. We can have kind of however you want it. If you only want the last 6 months, if you want whatever. And then we're going to look at the report and we can look at it a couple different ways. We have the charts are good for some things and not for others. It will let you know, hey, we really don't have enough data to chart this in a really meaningful way. But I like to look at just the data sheet for some of these. So in some of these neighborhoods where you don't have as much, like you only have one sale in this area per,
Well,
that's
two,
not
but
as
one is-
helpful.
So, but this will include cash sales, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, it'll include anything. So let's do it for just like maybe a larger area here. Let's just do it for our Clarkson schools here. The only thing I don't like about Realcomp is like on Real Source, you just start typing and it just pops
Yeah.
up. But that is what it is. So when we're, don't be finicky with me. All right. So when we're looking here and we have original price for sale price, oh, this is median. I would have rather done average, but you can see there's a real, when you see how now that 100% number is a real disparity. Wait a minute. This isn't 100% of list price.
Oh, right.
This isn't 100% of list price. This isn't 100% of list price.
Okay, that's, did you do median? Will you do average just for,
Yeah. I don't know why median was the default there, but I will.
it always is.
Yeah, I don't know why. So yeah, we should be able to customize and then we do original price average. And then sale price average. And you can pick all sorts of different stats with what you want here. Days on market, whatever you want. Now let's generate that. So when we do average, it's even more of a disparity. So that's something to be, and there is one that will give you the percentage. I would have to like go in and figure out exactly which one it is. And I've got it written down somewhere, but. So when we say, hey, it's 100% of list price, and then we really look at the original list price and we're at like 83%. That's something to sometimes run your stats a couple of different ways too, to make sure that if you see something that's way out of whack, check and see if there's something that you might have selected that would throw it out of whack. Like if you're just doing a neighborhood and you think this is kind of funky, sometimes there's not enough data. Sometimes there's just way too much data. So you can also do it within price ranges. If we just wanted to see, like I would guarantee you, if we then change this up and we're looking less than 250,000, our number is going to change quite a bit. And our original is actually going to be significantly lower because we know that most of those properties are going for way above ask if they're in that 250 and under. So like I said, the data is, you got to kind of know what you're looking for. But I think that the best use for all this is it's in your listing presentations and it's in your, I don't want to say your price reduction conversations, but your analysis of listing, you know, your listing health checkups. Any questions on the stats stuff or about how they can be used, or, hey, I want to see how to pull X, Y, or Z?
So when you're on a listing presentation and you've got a couple of those charts, do you have them live
Mhm.
on your laptop? So
Yeah.
you're just flipping between tabs?
Yeah, normally I would just use the this market stats. And I would have, I used to print a couple of them out, but sometimes it's really nice to be able to show, okay, well, where were we last? Because you know that what you'll have is, oh, well, my neighbor's house sold
Mhm.
and it's not a comp. It's like 2 years ago. And you say, okay, well, in 2019, there's kind of those things that I like to have the ability to kind of do it live. But you can print them out. It just isn't as interactive, I suppose. Any other questions on the stats or on how you can use them or anything like that? Cool.
That was helpful.
All right.
Okay, yeah, I do.
Yes.
Why do you prefer average versus median?
I use both depending on what it is. So sometimes, and I don't have a really good rationale for this, but what it seems like is I sat down to the math one time and I want to think I'm right, but median tends to show, especially when it's days on market, it tends to show like if you have a higher average than median, I'm sorry, a higher median than average, it will tend to show that you have, when you have a bunch of properties that are selling really quickly and a bunch that are really staying on the market forever, it kind of shows that disparity. And I can't remember if it's median shows one or the other, but I'd have to sit down and do the math on that. But sometimes it can kind of show that it's the aggregate isn't telling the whole story, because we know that realistically there's properties that are sitting on the market for 90 days and there's properties that are going in one day. So I think it's the median that shows that. Let me,
Okay. No, well, that's
I'll Let's take a look.
Yeah.
I think it probably depends on the situation.
Yeah.
'Cause I always learned that average is the best of the worst and the worst of the best. And I like to use median many times because it takes out those far flung,
And that's where it shows here.
ones that are way out and says this is more.
Oh,
So like on our average is 33 days, but our median is 12. So see, yeah. So now so that gives you a better picture of, okay, once we get rid of the really crazy fast ones and the crazy 90 days, you can say, well, realistic. And then if you're having that conversation, hey, we want to sell in 2 weeks. Well, now we don't need 5 showings. Now we need 9 showings a week. So, and that's about, I would imagine that's about right. 9 to 12 showings to get a house sold, especially if you got a hot listing, 15 to 20. That doesn't seem way too off to me.
Yeah, on the hot listings, to me, you need 4 or 5.
I was just gonna say.
Because
4.
those people have been out there, now we're in the rear view mirror maybe, but they've been out there losing houses, so they're coming full bore and they're coming immediately.
And that's when you get like, you do the coming soon, the first person
Right.
through, and an hour later, it's like offer.
Well, and that's why you see, if you look over like
Yeah.
January, so 2019 was pretty hot, not insane, but all throughout like 18 and 19, we were at 13, 14. It's only because of this crazy spike that we're seeing. We're not seeing it really till May, June that we're up to 18, and even in December, we're at 15. So he said, as those buyers, and we all know that in the winter, it's not a worse time to sell, but you have more serious buyers, or I'm sorry, less buyers, but more serious buyers.
But what this is doing though too is what Lauren said before. I mean, you've got the showings and like the numerator, and the denominator doesn't reflect number
Of
offers.
offers,
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And because
one
there's no
pending.
way for that to
Like,
be
just
tracked.
Just to
Right.
get to pending, it's 18, but then also we had 7 offers on the table.
Right.
and- Yeah.
And they did I believe that they did a national survey on this, and it was something like 53% of all listings had multiple offers. That's nationally, but there's just really no way to collect data on. But what I guess then the thing to tell your client might be then, well, this isn't reflecting the number of offers. Hey, if we only need 1 offer, we might only need 5, 6 serious buyers to come through. And as that price point increases, that number is going to go down
Yes.
precipitously.
Just because there aren't as many buyers
Yeah,
shopping in the high.
Just at 450, it already tanks. And if you went up to like 600,000, it's going to tank. I think when we did carries, it was like 8. So, and again, I don't need to run that, but so you'll see that.
And I keep going back to those days, but I mean, this is always applied. You just are able to pull this data.
Yeah.
But we would tell people the first 3 weeks in the market, really the first week is the most critical, because there are people that are out shopping, they may have lost a house, they're aware of what value is.
Yeah.
So they'll pounce on it if it's the right price. And so now though, you have all of this data that you can just show them.
And Stephanie and I were having this conversation yesterday, and some of this will help once we actually get into the listing presentation. But with the conversation we were having yesterday, it's just like, oh, because she's looking for us for boyfriend. She says, well, I can kind of tell him what he needs to know, but how do I do that with a stranger? And this is kind of the way you let the data speak for you to some degree. It's asking the right questions, like we were talking about a lot of it is not us talking, it's asking the question and figuring out the whys. And then it's if the objection, not that we want to be objection handlers, but the objection handler is data. It's not, people always say that real estate agents, we decide the price. No, we don't. That's ridiculous.
But that's the value of having all this and showing them.
Yeah, that is if you have a very basic grasp of economics, you know that if we wanted to set the market, by the way, average sale price would be a hell of a lot higher. Right? Like
higher for our sellers, lower for
exactly. Right. For our, so any other things that we might want to look into as far as stats or how they can be used or anything like that? I think the only other thing to be aware of is this is new, this finance code. If you are maybe you're presenting an FHA offer, maybe you say, hey, this is how things change with FHA. And if you are, let's do that. Oh, well, we're not going to do it.
Waterford, maybe.
Let's do Waterford.
Where are you in that?
Yeah.
Oh, so when you are up on your home screen, go to stats and then go to showing time market stats. Mm-hmm. And they said the other one, Bill, was stats residential. That was the one where you can kind of do the charts. Yep. So we're going to do Waterford. We're going to do 1 to 200,000, and we're going to do FHA sales. And then, so the other thing too is maybe this is something that you present with an offer where let's see what the difference is. So what you're seeing here, let's do the median. So in Waterford, for between 1 and 200,000, there is actually a little bit lower average sale price with conventional than there is with FHA. So maybe that's something if a seller's wondering, well, I don't know that it is,
No.
because if you think about it, if you're an FHA buyer, you have to bring a little bit more to the table to have a seller consider your offer in this market.
Oh, that's true.
And
What it doesn't show here though, is sometimes there are concessions with that.
yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
Um,
And they need $25,000 for the closing.
Yeah, that's true. And that might be another reason why it is a little bit higher.
Yeah.
What's up with concessions?
So your FHA buyers tend to be lower down payment buyers, and so they tend to need some help from sellers at closing for closing costs versus a conventional sale.
That'll drive the sale price up too.
Right.
And then they just give it back in terms of cash.
Yeah, concessions are really just artificially.
Analysis in an area that has FHA sales, I have to show the seller, yeah, they got more, but if you take out
The net.
$3,500, it still evens out.
Yeah. Because we know that concession is just artificially inflating sales price. But I think that you're going to see some concessions come back a little bit. I've seen actually a couple of deals that have been turned in from our office in the last couple of weeks that have had a little bit of concessions.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see that come back. This is going to sound really silly. I wouldn't be surprised to see it come back in the high end, because the high end is going to soften a little bit more. And if you are a $600,000 buyer, you're going to be pretty savvy with your money, generally speaking. And if I'm generally savvy with my money and I can get a 2.7 interest rate and I can get what rate in the stock market, I'm going to have as little equity as possible in the
Right.
house. I know that sounds kind of backwards, but if I know that I'm not going to keep it on hand in cash because it's going to get inflated away, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. So, and I actually had a conversation about that yesterday with one of an old seller of mine who bought in 2017 or 18, and same thing, bought like 650, and they put 5% down. They did just enough, I think, to keep it under jumbo. And it was because they did the math. They said, this is what I can get long-term in the stock market. Here's where my house is going to be here. And some of that math is and then they had 10K in concessions. So just interesting side note there. But yeah, so even if maybe you're writing, or maybe you're trying to explain to an FHA buyer that they need to pony up a little bit more, some of these stats might be useful. So anything else I might be able to go over with stats? Got it all? I mean, if you have questions later, just ask me to. All right. A couple, these are probably ones that you already know, but we're going to just go over them really quickly anyways. I know that we all know about showing carts, but the thing that I do think is interesting is, so in your search function, and this might just be because I'm an ignoramus and didn't realize some of these things. I really liked, let's say that we're not necessarily setting up showings yet, but we kind of want to know where everything is relationally. Let's say we got these, 10 listings. We can actually, without even doing into a showing cart, we can already set up a map. So if we're just trying to figure out, hey, can we have time to show all these 10? And we don't want to put in a showing cart, and because showing cart will tell you the time between each one. But I found that to be helpful just to say, okay, well, I can just do directions real quick between these. And are these all within kind of the radius that my buyer wants to be?
How did you get to that again?
Please do everything twice.
Okay.
And if we need more, we'll ask.
Yeah. So it was just once you've selected, it's just you hit directions.
No. Oh, okay.
Around the bottom
But
here.
how did you get to
That
this
screen.
screen?
Oh, this is just a search.
It doesn't look like my searches.
What does your search look like?
We don't have the miles. You can set that custom up. So have you set it up that way?
So I've got it because I did within a certain miles of an
okay, got it.
address.
Okay,
I see.
got it.
Oh, I see. That's easy.
Yeah, so that's the thing too, is if you know that they want to live particularly close to somewhere, that's a nice little thing.
That's why I
So,
would always figure out where to start,
Yeah.
So I'm not all over the place.
and you can do that in showing cart as well. And showing cart is nice because it will tell you the distance, and yeah, that's always nice if you're trying to.
If this isn't
This
showing.
is
No.
like an hour.
So you guys are using showing carts, right?
I'm
Yes. Okay.
I do, but I didn't I feel like the showing card, I don't know why, I think the maps are off. I don't know why.
Okay,
they're
let's-
not accurate. So I put all the
let's take a
addresses
look
into
here.
Google Maps and then I like reorder them to see the path.
So you can reorder them in showing card.
Where did you go to get to that?
So we had our selected listings that we wanted to show,
Right,
and we just right on the bottom here hit showing time.
okay.
And so in showing time, we've got this map. You can reorder to check the
Drag
time,
and drop.
and then it'll just. What I always used to do is just say, okay, all right, this is 50, and I just add these up, and then I'd figure, okay, I know that this client is about a 15-minute or they're a half an hour type of person, and it would let me schedule my showings a little bit easier. And the other thing it will do, by the way, is if you don't want to do that, it'll hit smart route. Sometimes it's smart, sometimes it's not so smart. Like this one is not. This one was dumb. This one should have been 10.
Well, there was no, yeah, no good way to get.
Yeah, no good way. But so I think that's really helpful, obviously. Another thing, by the way, just to kind of, and I'm sure that you guys are doing this, but if
Giving us a lot
because
of credit.
so let's say that your clients are asking how busy a list. Okay, of course it's not like something out.
Oh, yeah, like how many people are looking at it or.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you guys are doing that. But if you are scheduling a single showing, it will show what's blocked off, and you can just kind of figure out how many
They
showings there
didn't
are.
used to do that.
No, they did not.
And I hate it as a listing agent, but I love it as a buyer's agent.
So as a listing agent,
But sometimes I notice it doesn't say, oh, well, from 10 to 11, there's, it shows it's an hour book, but
Yes.
oh, there's actually 5.
well, so
You know,
I believe that if you allow overlapping showings, it will not show this. I believe. I'm not 100% sure about that
Really?
because this is property availability, and I would have to test that. But I
That's
believe that if you allow overlapping showings, which by the way, at this point in life, like we should be
we should
allowing
be
overlapping showings.
Yeah, agreed.
Like just tell people to be courteous. But that's just my personal pet
Why,
peeve.
do you think they can't? Because I'm
I
getting
don't-
them all the time.
Showing time is just defaulting to not. So if you went
Oh.
and put in a listing and you defaulted, unless
Yeah,
you
and then
change
Okay,
it,
I got it.
You have to tell
you
them,
have to
yeah.
tell them this is, and I've had some agents get pissed, but it's like, you know what? Then wait your turn outside. This is to make it easier for all the other agents that don't want to show one house at 11 o'clock and then go back out at 6 o'clock. Yeah. No, that's probably like, I just rubbed my shirt the wrong way. Yeah. I will say this, though, that was something that pissed me off more. I'm like, so now especially if you're not close, okay, well, I got to go to Lake Orion and instead of having 2 showings in Lake Orion at 11, I've got to go back there at
So much for my smart route.
Yeah,
Right.
Well, but
Ugh,
I've done it
infuriating.
there, as long as it doesn't give me a
Right,
central
right.
block code, I go, we're just going. I got a code,
I
we're going.
didn't hear that.
Yeah. And that's-
Well, if
Don't
you
tell
can
me
tell it's
that.
vacant, then why the heck not?
Yeah, don't.
Well, if it's vacant.
Well, still, you're supposed to honor your showing times,
Oh,
but
whatever.
I'm just, I understand it. I unofficially, I get it if
Yeah.
it's
We're
vacant.
all doing it, but you don't.
So, yeah.
But I am finding that the amount of agents that are like cutthroat, like I had a listing and we were doing multiple and this guy called me and he's like, we're waiting outside for our turn to go in and this lady came and like cut the line and she came right as the door opened and she ran in. She locked all the doors
Mhm.
so nobody could get in.
Oh.
Been
I-
Well,
locked
a
out
lot
on
of
more than
reasons they're
occasion.
doing that
I
because
block
people are
doors.
so rude.
Well, yeah, so this guy was like, what do I do? I was like, knock on the door. Did I tell you about Stacy Granderson happened on one of mine? So obviously, no one knows Stacy's also a police officer. And this lady cut in front of her at one of my listings. And Stacy's like, nope. She's just like wailing on the door. And it's like 10 minutes. Finally, Stacy's like, I'm in. The lady was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how
Stacy's got her cop knock going on.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how it happened, but I locked the door and brought the lockbox key in with
She
me.
texted me this and I'm like crying. laughing. So I was like, that poor woman has no idea who she just crossed.
Oh, yeah. That's a
I
real.
knew a lot of teachers for realtors. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
Cops,
So
yeah.
Stacy's like hugging it, and I can just picture her just like.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, so that's now you know the little pet
And
peeves,
my
right?
favorite is somebody got an offer accepted, goes back and, or has an offer in, goes back and
Takes the key.
I had never hit that until I drove about 45 miles
What?
to show a house.
Yeah.
I was so pissed.
And they
Yeah.
took, they took
Yeah.
the offer and they took the key.
Yeah, take the
Uh-huh.
key so that nobody else can show it.
Yep, so nobody else can show it.
There's a lot of scumbags in this industry. See,
There
again,
are.
part of it is you guys, when you work like a company here and
That's the
we
thing.
don't allow scumbags,
Yeah,
like you're like, oh, everyone is actually nice and professional. And it's like, no. That's
No,
just
they're not.
that's a here thing.
On the overlapping, Are you just allowing 15 minutes and then overlapping on a 15-minute, or what are you doing on?
I was allowing like 30-minute blocks and allowing overlapping, but if I was a buyer, I was scheduling in 15-minute blocks so that if I knew it wasn't overlapping, so that I knew, hey, I'll be courteous to another agent. I know I'm only going to be in there. So many agents block an hour, and you're like, you're not taking an hour.
Well, it defaults
And-
to, because some agents default that they don't realize it defaults to a longer period where
Mhm.
they can change it.
Well, sometimes if I have like 5, I'm probably
Exactly.
the hour for my.
That's what I do
recess
too.
or my-
Exactly.
And so-
to compensate for whatever.
Yeah, and so if I was having a vacant listing, it's like, okay, I know I'm kind of being there in this window. I'll do a half an hour. That way, if I'm a little bit late, I'll wait for
If it's
another
vacant,
agent.
yeah,
And
but-
but yeah, if it was which is why I also always used, I find it very helpful to use and I know some people don't, and I know some people don't even give feedback, but I was always use the done showing feature on showing time.
Yes.
I always thought that was a nice little courtesy,
Yes.
and it was a nice little way to let your agent know, hey, by the way, I'm dealing with somebody that's a pro, and
And, you know,
That is
I-
only with the electronic lockbox.
no, it's on all of them.
Oh, is it?
It's just showing
Just
time.
the showing
It just
time.
says, because if it's set up, if the house isn't vacant, that the seller can be notified, you can go home now.
Yeah, once you're done, it says done.
Because I
showing.
thought it only, like, for me, it was like you walk in and you open the box, so it knows.
Well, that's separate.
It's on showing time.
I'm showing.
So
time
once
when-
you've showed,
When it says like, oh, so you have set from 10 to 10:30 at like.
So even if haven't gotten there or haven't gotten in, you're still
Right.
gonna get that
You're still
message.
gonna, it's prompted like, oh, it's 10:32, technically you should be done now. Do you want, and it comes up like, do you want to tell the agent? And it's like a button done showing.
Okay,
And-
yeah, I've seen that, but I
Yeah.
thought it was just electronic.
no, yeah, and I think that's
I do that, I pay attention to it, because it is a courtesy.
It is a nice, and I feel like the feedback, I wish was more people did that. Surprised at how many people don't leave any.
I think our feedback changes, between you and I and the people on this, we can change those questions.
yes, I
think
have
that
changed those in the
they
past.
Need to be changed.
But have you gotten some of people's, like,
Some of them are ridiculous.
they're ridiculous.
No, I just think when you ask a buyer's agent, what do you think of the price?
Yeah, they're always
What
gonna
is-
say it's too
like-
high, always.
Yeah, or I don't even answer it because I can't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm violating, like, if my client goes back to that house and I've said it's priced great, I've just knocked them out of negotiating.
I think if a buyer isn't interested because of price, I will mark, hey, I thought it was too high, and I'll put in the comments, hey, buyer, and that's where I kind of
Yeah.
like when they have the option of, hey, it was the best one I've seen was price was just way sky high, or hey, price was a little high, but it's close, or price was perfect, or hey, we might have underpriced. Like there was actually some options like that, which I really liked. I also, the rating of 1 to 5 is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
because it doesn't compute price in there.
right.
It's,
Well, let's
So you
actually.
It's a good
rating
value.
it
Well,
as
everyone's
far
used
as-
to old prices too, and that's
Yes.
the thing. You get a lot of new people who are like, "Oh my gosh, this is 300,000," and you're like,
There is a real element
every
of
house
that.
like this is 300,000 right
Yeah,
now."
there's a real element of that. Of some buyers think that every house is overpriced.
My buyer for jeans, they came back with, too high, and I immediately called and said, please don't let that be a deterrent,
Yeah.
let's put something out there.
And as a listing agent, I think that's a great conversation to say, or even as a buyer's agent, if you're having a problem with this buyer just won't pull the trigger on anything, and they say, oh, well, I don't like this house because it's too high. My question was always, at what price is this the right house for you?
Right.
And same for a listing agent. Hey, at what price would this be a good buy for your buyer? Because you have no idea what your seller will take.
Right.
And an offer is better than not an offer. So we'll note that real quick. If you go to showing time agent and office configuration under the Realcomp links, which is kind of down on your home screen a bit.
it is.
And if you go to your listings, I don't have it. I wonder if I can change it on this. You can. I wonder if it'll do this because this is pending.
I don't know if can you do it there or,
I think that you have to. There we go.
yeah.
Okay, so if you go to showing time, and I'll show you how to do this when you get to the listing, and you go to form design and settings, and you go to your feedback form, you can change the questions that you have on your, like for us right now, this is the template we have. You can change the template and you can put whatever you want and whatever your options are. And you can also add in, if you want a free form fill out, you can do all of that. So I have done this in the past. I didn't change it when I switched over to Realcomp, but mine was, it it was like, because this is a stupid question. What was your overall experience this showing?
Yeah.
The only way that that should be, hey, it was poor, is like I had a problem with another agent or the house
I got
just
lo-
showed like
I got
absolute
locked out of the
garbage.
house. Yeah.
That's the only real reason for that. So I always had like a, how well did the house show? Or like I'll try and find what I had. But I thought it was just a little bit more, like we said, asking the right questions is the key, right? That's like if we asked a buyer, well, what do you want?
It's like,
Well-
rate this listing. So you could put in there, please rate this listing based on condition.
Yeah,
or,
you could
know,
put in there, hey,
I think the questions are just, these
Yeah.
questions are too general.
and maybe we can, I'll put that on my list to create an office template that maybe a couple office templates that are a little bit, because I can create one that will go, you guys would all be able to, and it would just say, okay, Peter's
Oh.
office template or
Oh,
something.
that would be.
I will, and I'll play around with that. That's not going to be a today thing. That'll be like, give me a week.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
Give me a week. Okay.
I mean, I've thought that every time I see it, and I changed it as an agent.
Yeah.
Like Peter did, because those weren't and if you're not doing it, always, like, always ask it, number one, to say, hey, I've got this set up to where you're gonna get the feedback correctly. I'm not going to, change it for you, and I'm gonna tell you that some will be brutal, some will be stupid, and some of them will be on the market, and you need to see it all.
Hey.
And then that takes you out of the, like, hey, the house smelled like cat urine.
Yeah.
So, make sure you set that up. There has to be an email there for them to get it.
Yeah. Mary, I see that you've got a hand up. Do you want to put in the chat what your question was, or you can probably just tell us, and I think we'll be able to hear you, maybe?
I hope so. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I cannot. Well, can you put it in the chat, Mary? I can answer it.
Okay.
Oh, never mind. I can hear you now. There you are.
Okay. So in other words, last Sunday when I had a confirmed appointment and I went in to show property with my clients and there were two people asleep in the master bedroom, I can't mark my experience poor.
No, in that case, I think that you'd be very justified in marking yourself as a poor experience.
Scary.
That's what
Yeah,
I
that's,
thought too.
Breathing.
Yeah, the listing agent, you get a call on that one, for sure.
She did.
Oh yeah. Okay, a couple other. I'll try and speed up some of these.
No, he did. What were they doing?
A couple other search kind of tricks. You can, if Cloud is your preferred CMA, which there are a bunch of great CMA programs, and I can go through any of them with you. There's obviously the Realcomp CMA. There's Cloud. CB has revamped Moxie Present, which is now excellent. Which we'll teach that at some point. But if Cloud or the Realcomp CMA are your preferred, you can direct import into Cloud. I'm sure you guys already knew that.
Yes, because you said that the
Last time, but then I
But
remember I was
before
like,
then, I didn't.
So that's where,
Looking in the mirror.
so if you know your comps, let's say you already know I'm going to use these 5 comps, it should only take you this long to do a CMA. Well, theoretically, you just would say, and the address, somebody give me an address that's very close. You know, Lauren really.
6771 Wealthy. Does it have to be a listing or can it be sold?
Any address.
6771 Wealthy.
There you go. And it's imported in. And these are obviously not going to be good comps, but because I just literally used whatever high price was. And I'm going to just check that all my listings are correct. Okay. Oh, hey, I don't want to use this one.
Oh, 1.7.
Yeah, I literally just
Yeah.
didn't have any criteria in there, and it was only actives. And then I can hit, and there's customize, but I don't really use the customize anymore because I just use live, and I hit publish. And now I've got my CMAs ready to go. So if you know your listings, it's quick, and we'll do that again. And now you should have like your pages set up. So like if you want your resume, I don't really go through my resume, but if you want that set up, but in the live, we'll do one class just on Cloud CMA or on the CMA
It's still
Our
Moxie.
products. Yeah, we'll do a Moxie, we'll do a Realcomp, we'll do classes on each of the CMA programs because they're all really good. And like I said, Moxie is
And you
I
can get
think
to
you
Moxie
can-
from there too?
not from here.
Yes.
Um,
It goes into Realcomp and pulls it, right?
yeah, they're tweaking a couple things like with some of the duplicates that they're pulling through, but that's a story for another day because Moxie is going to become not just a CMA program, but it's going to become an all-in-one, all-encompassing program, which is going to be really well. That'll be a talk for another day. But I've been playing around with it. It's very cool. Because we needed more cold banker tools, right? No, I'm just kidding. No, it's very cool. Yeah, that's next week.
They backed back the deadline, so.
Yeah, I know. So you
Yes.
backed yours off too.
Yeah,
October
exactly.
31st.
Stop it.
I was like, what?
Stop.
Good.
See, I was
Yeah,
like,
don't do
why
that.
not do later?
No. Hey, do you know what we should not do? Is push it back. What you should really start doing is say, hey, I've got more time to kind of slowly learn it.
That is exactly what I
Yes,
should be doing.
it's exactly what you guys are all not going to do.
That's exactly it. But I'm more on the peg. I'm like, fight back. I got 3 more weeks.
Next week we'll go through it again and we'll do like we did last class. We'll just literally let's do a list.
I figure every time you do that, you are on the phone with Realcomp straightening out about 17
Yes.
things. So I'm like, October 31st, Peter will have it ready for that.
Hopefully you'll be able to enter a listing. A couple more quick search things. Let's say that we, for those of you that like, I know some of you will print single lines. So like you'll print like this page, and let's say that you only want a certain number of listings. You can use the refine. And actually, let's say that you wanted to, well, you can use Remind Pro to mail these, but let's say that you wanted to send a mailer to whoever's on these, you can export anything into a CSV, which is cool, but Remind Pro does that even better. So we'll use Remind. You can, if you have your contact set up, which that we won't get to that today, but I'm sure you guys have got contacts set up because you guys have got clients on auto drips. Yeah. So if you have a client on auto drip and let's say you don't want to go into their portal, but you're looking at a particular search, and I wonder if my client has just seen any of these, you can view a search as your client if they've seen it, which is cool. The other thing that you can do is let's say we want to just throw a couple of these away. We can just get rid of a couple listings. Or if we only want to see these listings, we can narrow the search. And now the only thing that's going to show up, let's say we were going to print this because we wanted to, like sometimes I like to have it just like if I was going to like go on a showing tour, I like to have just, okay, I know these are my 5 addresses. You can only show it as that. But what you can also do is I find this more helpful on solds. You can sort them by like when they, the one that I used a lot was sale date. I don't know where it is on here. Anyways, it's on here somewhere, but you could actually sort by sale date. So if I was comping, and especially if you're doing a BMA and you want to see what the most recent one is and you've got a big list, you could sort it by, it'll show you by the most recent sold or the most recent that's been on the market, which I think is really, really helpful. So because the days on the market, if you're dealing with solds, doesn't tell you the whole story. So I think that's really helpful. And then also, and I have not what feature I don't think is all that, we're going to ignore it because I was using it. I didn't think it was all that functional. But so there's a couple different things you can do. I do think the sort function is fantastic. I think we hit everything on searches. Yeah. And I think I got time for like one more thing. I'm sorry. The last thing on searches. Let's say that that you're always checking a specific search for buyer, but instead of going into contacts and opening their portal, you just want to say, you know what? I want to save this so I can just get to this right away. What you can actually do is you can save a search as a speed bar shortcut. So let's say that this is my search for Lauren. I don't know. I'm going to have to delete this. Because otherwise I'm going to be like, what the hell? And I'll show you how to do that again here. So right from here, I can do speed bar shortcut and save it as whatever your client's name is. And now anytime that I'm on the search bar, unless I'm just on home, I can just hit / Lauren,
Stop, dude.
and I'm already there. So now instead of going through and you're like, oh, I know this client wants it, either going to their contact page or to the actual search,
You saw the
But
one
you
I was
only
really
save that
using.
search, right?
it only saves the search, whatever the search is.
What did you do that was?
So let's say, so let's
Wait a minute,
say,
do you have to
let's
set
do this
it
again.
up in the?
No, it doesn't have to be for a contact or anything. Let's say that you just know that like you're looking, yeah, let's just say that you know that a contact, they don't want to be on a drip, but you kind of know what they're looking for. So let's say that I know that Diane is looking for something, you know, let's say it's under 300K and it needs to be 3+ bedrooms and it needs to be a ranch and it needs to be in Clarkston schools and it needs to be more than 1,500 square feet because she's got those cute little dogs.
Oh my God, they're so cute.
Not like it in this.
One match? Oh my goodness.
I can't help you with that.
All right, we're gonna have to, that's, I think, tough in Clarkson schools too.
In there.
Yeah, true. Okay, we're gonna do 400 or less.
Still gonna.
Go out and-
Not gonna be a lot of
Okay,
ranches.
that's what I do. It's
Yeah.
like-
Jeez,
Yeah,
okay.
so-
Oh, sorry, it's because it's within 3 miles. There we go, that's the problem. Okay.
Well, 5 months, 4 months, but it was a long go.
And now I know that this is Diane's search, and I could set it up on an auto email, and I can create a new contact right there. We all know how to do that. But if I, let's say she does not want to be on a drip, we just go to speed bar shortcut. It'd be nice if I could spell.
Shortcut, and it's always /.
And then all I have to do is when I'm on home and I go, oh, okay, Diane search.
Oh my God.
It makes it easy. Do I have time for one more thing? We're not gonna do just like a couple other like little things to kind of play around with. Something that I have found, by the way, manager note of don't do stupid things. Please, for the love of God, please, please, please talk to your clients about taxes and about padding their escrow account before they close. I'm sure you guys are already doing that, but so many, because the mortgage company will only use the current taxes. They will not use the adjusted. And very early in my career, I had a couple of very angry phone calls saying, why in the world did my mortgage payment go up? I learned that the hard way. And if you don't want to go through the gigantic PDF that is the Michigan millage rates,
Yeah.
I didn't know that you could go. What's it?
external links,
What?
millage rates,
No.
not just the
Oh, I
PDF.
knew that, yeah.
So you hit begin estimated, and we're going to say that
Yeah.
we've got a 250,000 SEV, Oakland County.
Get out of here.
Dude. I just need to.
And we are
Where did you find
in
it?
external links, Clarkston
Oh,
schools, and we're in
It's
Clarkston
in the
schools.
other way, but it's much longer to get to.
And the other way too is a lot of times you have to look through I was doing it where like
I
you have the
that open
PDF
on my thing.
and then you're trying to scroll through and then you're
Okay,
trying to
that's
calculate
Go
and
in there, they give me this option, just I don't think it's as clear. That's a much quicker way of getting. to
Yeah.
it.
That was so easy.
so, and the other thing too, what you can do is if you have, let's say that someone is wondering, well, how are my taxes going to compare?
Just notice if you scroll down, the
Mhm.
disclaimers,
Mhm.
millage rates are those levied and billed in
Mhm.
2019.
Mhm.
Oh, so
Oh.
They'll
the
be-
PDF is more current.
It's a little bit more current, but this is still that's why it's estimated, but it's still going to give you especially if you have
The PDF is,
I think the PDF is still 19 too.
yeah.
Oh, I got 20 up here.
Okay, maybe it is 20 now. So,
That's where I
but
went.
2020 will be
Maybe
soon.
20, and they just
2020
haven't
total
changed the
property tax rate
disclaimer.
in Michigan.
We should probably,
Rates for 2020 will be posted in 2021, August 2021, it says.
okay,
that's
so
what should be
eventually
it.
it'll get there.
So that's a nice little easy thing to do.
That's
Um,
August 2021.
And then I know we're at 10:30, but I'm gonna hit a couple of little quick.
So on
links.
this though, in addition to padding, because I sold new construction, I knew they were gonna get hit that next July. Cause the house was already built. And I talked the mortgage company into padding and I explained it to them. And these are people who had owned a couple of houses. What we were doing, but what I didn't say or didn't think of is we closed in December and February. The mortgage company did, the service company did the automatic accounting of their tax escrow. Said, you have too much in here.
Oh, no.
Do you want the check for $500? And she's thinking, well, we're going on vacation. Yes. Totally forgot the whole conversation and what we went through to get it changed, done correctly. And then in July, she's like, oops.
Yeah, well, because you have to remember, well, especially new construction, you're only assessed on land value.
Yeah,
Right.
So
it's,
But-
Well, so if the mortgage guy I'm working with says, what are taxes on that property? I go pull what the taxes, what they're estimated to be at SEV for,
yeah, and some lenders will do that and some will not.
yeah,
yeah,
I know.
sometimes you have to have a conversation
Right.
before closing. Will you please do that? I
Right.
had to.
Yeah. But because you have to remember, not only if they're short, they'll not only get hit for the difference, but then they'll pad even more. So
Right.
I mean, you
Go
could have
forward.
pad
Yes,
where,
no,
hey, my mortgage
yes.
payment went up $1,000. Like, whoa, this is not good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, she no longer works here.
This was your personal cell phone.
Oh,
Yeah.
Static on the line, sorry.
Drive with your tunnel. I no longer speak English. Go back.
A couple of very, very quick things, and we're a little bit past time, but give me I always give the disclaimer. Hey, it's 10. You know what? You guys can leave it anytime you want. Whatever. I'll go a couple minutes. And if you are having clients that want to know a little bit about down payment, again, in our Realcomp links, we've got a down payment resource. Oh, crap. There. And if you are wondering about particular programs or if there is any down payment particular property or programs that are
Okay,
available for this.
overload.
Okay, we'll just call it then. We'll do this in a two-part. I think that was the only thing I was going to mention. Then community profiles, but yeah, you can use. I think
Oh,
that's
go ahead.
super.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna put a class on it. If it-
Yeah, we'll take a quick look. I'll do like a little summary of like reminding. Okay, this is how you.
We'll give you a week on that too.
You know what? If you want, go back and watch the video. It'll be in the Clarkson
That's
Training
just what I
Training.
was gonna say, because this has been a quick, he's touched on a lot.
Yeah.
He always records them and he puts them on the Google Drive.
No, it's in the Clarkson. If you just search CBW and Clarkson Training on YouTube, you'll have access if you're signed into YouTube with your CBW account. If not, I'll send the link out to everybody too.
Okay.
But what's that, Peg? What's the wealthy address?
6771
And zip code?
48346.
And let's just for giggles say that it was, I know probably more than this, but we'll just say because it got to qualify for something. And it will start telling you, okay, here are the different, and this does not mean that your buyer is going to qualify for a lot of these, but hey, we like the home start. So, and a lot of them like, okay, yeah, I know it qualifies for FHA. Okay, it qualifies for MISTA, but some of these, if you want to check if it qualifies for RD and you don't want to go to the RD map, it's a nice little bump for you. There is that's the only one I've used. I know that there's a couple other things too. If you wanted to use this as an ad, I have not done it, but do as I say, not as I do. If you wanted to share this out on your social and you wanted to say, hey, see if you're eligible for down payment assistance, you can share that link out. So, and that link I will send you. No, I won't, because that's
Have us on
customers
the
to me.
hook for anything now? Like if I say, see if you're,
Nope.
oh, okay,
So if you're using third-party stats where you're showing
okay.
where they come from, that if you put it out as your stats, then
Yeah.
that becomes the liability.
Mhm. Yep. So it's like a landing page. So if you wanted to share that out and it would say get details, and that's gonna send you an email. Say, hey, such and such wanted to see details about down payment assistance.
Now, you would have to be a little more cautious about it, because guess what wasn't gonna happen? The down payment assistance in May this year. Like if you wrote an offer for someone like that in Oakland County.
Yeah.
They weren't gonna get the house unless it was Pontiac,
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing you got to remember, the vast majority of people, down payment assistance is probably not the best fit for, because you can probably find them a low down payment situation, or you can find something else that's going to give them a better
And
rate.
some of those, if they sell within a certain, like they have to live
Like
in the house
MISTA,
for
you live for 5 years.
5 years. If they don't live there 5 years and they sell, they have to pay, I don't know, is that all or
7,500. Yeah.
Yeah, so they have to pay
Sell
that
or
back.
refi.
Yes.
And so, and the buyers don't remember that. So guess what? When you go in to
Mhm.
list a house and you didn't sell it to them, you might get a surprise.
Yeah. Which is why out of all the buyers that would contact me saying, because I would do some of the down payment at a different site, but I do a little bit of the down payment advertising. Maybe one of them used Mr. Down. It's because normally I could get a hold of one of my lenders and we can say, oh, we can do a gift flip, we can do this, and we can do this, and this would save you more money. Is it a little bit gimmicky? Yes. But here's the thing is what people really want is they want to be in a house affordably. Are you still providing that? Absolutely.
Yes.
I don't think that you're not baiting and switching anybody. You are showing them that this is what's out there. Last thing that we will just kind of show you here is be careful with, so there are school profiles. Be careful again with what you are sharing when it comes to schools. But I'll just, for your own information, I can show you that. But there has been some debate about whether we can even provide, Kim, maybe you want to weigh in on this, but whether we can even provide links to particular school rating sites. Do you have a particular thought on that? I've been told both
I
ways.
would think if you're using reputable, especially if you're using the Michigan K through 12 website, I don't know why you couldn't.
I've heard that because there's different ones and they rate differently, that because you steered them to a particular rating website, that could be.
So if
I think that we're probably getting really into the weeds here.
Yeah,
But
boy.
Yeah, I, like if people want that information, I used to, I mean, again, back in the dark ages, we had to provide, I used to have a list of our school districts and the contact person for that school district so that they could find out their own information. And I'd have that conversation because people pick schools for different reasons. You have, like people come to Clarkson for autistic children. And, like it depends on that, I just said, it's a family decision.
Yeah.
If you have a child that's going to go into robotics and this school is very good at it, then that's how relocation people pick their school districts.
yeah, I also think it's a little bit silly that schools are a part of fair housing because the rating of the school really doesn't have anything to do with the demographic of the, but that's my own personal just thought. But
I think though, teaching them because especially a brand new buyer, it's like, I can tell you, my eyes were open when I did a lot of relocation as to how relocation people pick their homes and school district, if they have children, is an important part.
Yeah.
And it depends on their child's needs, not what public perception
Yes.
is.
Yep. Like the school where I live, the schools are not actually rated very high.
Uh-huh.
That being said, part of that is because of a lot of the ratings that have come are because of the management of the school board, not the quality of the education itself. And so there's a lot of people that are very unhappy with the way a lot of the money was spent. It's not the quality of the education. So there are certain things that you got to be. I always tell people that too. And if you really want to have a value add for a buyer, Alex Milstein, one of the things that he always did was he had especially if you work in a small area, he had a contact person at every school.
Yeah, that's what I did.
And he said, I will. And he's like, no one almost ever took me up on it. He said, I'll set up an appointment with that person if you want. He's like, it would take me one phone call. And he's like, buyers were blown away that I would do that for them.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I never make the appointment for them, but I give them the information. And some of them will do that. They
Yeah.
will go and visit the elementary school that their child,
Yeah. And sometimes just the offer is
firstborn
enough.
usually.
A lot of
By the
times people don't take you up on it, but sometimes the
whatever.
offer is enough.
Let's get this kid out of the house.
A last thing is if you are really fired up, and there's so much more that we could talk about, but this is the last thing I will talk about. If you want to know more about what's going on with the economy in a particular area or with housing or with the demographics of the area that you are looking at, you go to external links, go to community profiles, and you can create one, and you can create it for, let's say that we just want to do Independence. Oh, it's the city of the village of Clarkson?
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Good for me to see.
And you can do the whole area.
Yeah, I'm gonna do. Yeah,
Okay.
is that we normally do Independence, Groveland, Springfield, and Clarkson, right?
Not Grover.
Not
so
Groveland,
much.
sorry, and just Independence, Springfield, and why do I feel like I'm missing?
Or you can go, well, I mean, that's not what I searched, but yeah, that would work for us.
Okay, you would put in Waterford and something like too, right?
Well, it
But
depends on what I'm looking at.
if we
so,
just wanted to
yeah.
create a profile for our little piece of heaven here,
Can you do it by school district?
not that I saw.
Okay.
But it will go into population forecast. If a buyer is worried about something, you can, I think the interesting one that I saw this is my interesting one, build permits, I think is very cool. So you can actually see how many single family, multifamily condos or total units and net total of building permits. So if somebody's wondering, hey, is this an up and coming area with new construction? You can find that. I think that's a very cool way to show, well, and you can see, boy, lumber prices and labor shortages, 37 new building permits in 2021 for these 3 areas for new construction. That's nuts. And then it'll just show you, okay, how much, and then we'll show you how much is owner occupied. I don't know that you need to know all this stuff. But
Cool.
yeah, so it's cool to know. But it will tell you too, I'm sorry, the one last thing I saw that was really cool. This is the other one that I really like. Under economy and jobs, you have why is this from 2016?
That's
That's
the
the only
last
old one.
census, so.
There was a 2020 census, wasn't there?
Says that
I
at
mean,
the
it's
top.
sure-
Yeah, I did the
Yeah.
census.
Oh,
That's 2020 census. Oh, well, maybe they just haven't updated this particular one yet. But where the workers commute from and where residents
that has
work.
the source is, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, that's kind of where they haven't updated it. But if you look at, so where the people in, so let's say that you were listing a house in Sterling Heights, this would be very helpful for you because you know, okay, there's a bunch of industrial, but a lot of those people don't live here. Where are they working? I'm sorry, where do they live? And also, where do the residents of where I'm looking at, where do they work? So if you are tending to see, hey, I work in Clarkson, I know that their employers tend to be in this area. I think those 2 things are very, very helpful. And if you wanted to say, I want to target a particular income bracket in particular neighborhoods or in particular zip codes, that helps you. Just to kind of see, hey, we have this many households earning this much. Other than that, any questions on that stuff? I know that's a very brief overview of the demographic data. I know we covered a lot.
But he has recorded it, so, you can look at the recording and stop it,
And I think some of the things, once you just do them once, you'll just then do them, like clicking and then adding to Cloud CMA, like or to CMA or whichever program you tend to use. And some of the things you might not use as much, like you might not save carts or save speed bar searches all that often. The stats, I think, are something that should know the stats. And like you said, now you know that millage rates are there. Okay, that's a big thing. But I think the stats, and if you know just kind of those couple little fast tricks, your searches will be faster, your comping will be faster.
Good, because it couldn't be on as well.
It just, like I said, if you know your comps, we now can put together, no matter what program you're using, a CMA in 10 minutes or less. So if that cuts off some, obviously that's not including reviewing those comps. You should review your comps, obviously. But if it's like, okay, I'm listing in Collection Pines, I've already listed 2 houses there. I got a real good idea of all these houses. It makes it easy. So is there anything that I can, or what can I clarify or touch back on real quick in the next 2 or 3 minutes? Is there anything that, hey, I just want to see that again? Cool. All right. That's it for me then. Thank you to my, not Zoom. I always say Zoom. It's not Zoom. Thank you to my Google Meet people for joining. And now I have to find where it went. There it is.
Okay,
Cool. Thanks, guys.
very good.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Always good stuff.
Yeah, and just kind of, she's always been told to stay away from school conversations. I would tend to agree to some degree. So, or at least from the individual schools. So, all
Again,
right.
Give them contact information, let them do their own search.
Yep, the resources, but not the opinions, because that's